Well, hello gang. Obviously you can tell I'm not here today. We're going to do a video lesson because fortunately here at Belton High School, learning doesn't stop just because the teacher's not here. We can always do a video lesson to keep the learning going. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to get your 5.3 notes out. You had these the other day. If you don't know what this is or you weren't here the other day, you can find an extra copy of the 5.3B notes in the back of the room because this is what you're going to need today. Last class period we went through and we did some solving equations using radicals, and you should have already checked your solutions to that already. We're going to move on to example 2. Example 2 is a little bit different than the examples and the problems you did last class period, because on example 2 you are going to solve for x, but you got to do it in a slightly different way. So example 2, solve 1/2 x minus 2 squared equals 8, and I'm going to do that in the margin. So let me write that down. 1/2 x minus 2 squared equals 8. And a lot of students have a tendency to want to go straight to a distributive property on this. Don't do that. Don't do distributive property, because if you try to distribute the 1/2 to what's in parentheses, you're not following order of operations. You would have to deal with this exponent first before distributing. And so we will not distribute the 1/2. But what we will do is the first step is we will divide both sides by 1/2. We can do that because this is 1/2 times whatever this is worth in parentheses. So I'll divide both sides by 1/2. These halves will cancel, leaving me with just x minus 2 squared. And 8 divided by 1/2 is 16. It's not 4, it's 16. Half goes into 8 16 times. If you don't believe me, check your calculator. So now we have x minus 2 squared equals 16, and now we're going to square root both sides. So we do a square root of this entire thing, and we square root 16. Remember, square rooting cancels out with the exponent of 2, leaving us with just x minus 2 on the left side of the equation, equals, and as soon as you square root, this is where the plus minus comes into play. And the square root of 16 is exactly 4. And then the next step is to add 2. Now, remember that this represents two different numbers. It represents a positive 4 and it represents a negative 4. So when you add 2, you have to add 2 to positive 4 and to negative 4. So you're going to get two entirely different answers this time. You're going to have x equals positive 4 plus 2, which is 6, and x is going to equal negative 4 plus 2, which is negative 2. So it's not just a simple positive negative answer this time. They might be two entirely different digits. Sometimes they'll actually both be positive answers. Sometimes they'll both be negative answers. But most of the time it's really one positive and one negative. But remember, you have to add 2 to a positive 4 and a negative 4 to get both the correct answers. All right, we are going to move on to a couple of problems from your assignment today. So if you get the paper labeled 5.3C out, looks like this, 5.3C, practice 5.3C. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do question 19. Some of the first questions are actually a little bit of review from last class period. I'm going to use some of the white space here at the bottom of the screen. So question 19 is 2, parentheses, x plus 3 squared equals 8. So the first step is to first divide both sides by 2. Remember, that cancels out these 2's, leaving us with x plus 3 squared equals whatever 8 divided by 2 is, and that is 4. And then we'll do a square root. Square root both sides. Cancels that out, leaving us with just x plus 3 equals positive or negative 2. And then subtract 3 from both sides. and you are subtracting, you can't see it, can you? You're subtracting 3 from both sides. You are subtracting 3 from a positive 2, and positive 2 minus 3 would be negative 1. And you are subtracting 3 from negative 2, and negative 2 minus 3 is negative 5. So the two solutions are negative 1 and negative 5. Let's look at one more. Let's look at 21. So again, I'm going to use some of the white space here. Number 21 is 3x plus 1 in parentheses squared, and then outside of parentheses is negative 36 equals 0. This time, we're going to add 36 to both sides. Before we divide, if you had anything outside of parentheses here, before we divide by anything, we're going to add 36. And then that gives us 3x plus 1 squared equals 36. And then we will do what, do you think? What do you think we will do? We're going to go for that square root. Square root both sides. That's 3x plus 1 equals 6. Plus or minus 6, don't forget that. And now subtract 1 from both sides. So subtract 1, and that means you're going to have 3x equal to 6 minus 1 is 5. But then you're also going to have negative 6 minus 1, which is 7. So 3x is going to equal both 5. Again, I've got to scroll it up for you there, I guess. 3x is going to equal 5. Or this 3x could equal negative 7. Because negative 6 minus 1 is negative 7. And then divide by 3 here, divide by 3 here, and that'll give you your answers for both x's. You're going to have 5/3. These are regular equations, so let's keep them as fractions. And negative 7 divided by 3 is negative 7/3. And voila, there you go. So, hopefully the example in the notes and these two examples from your worksheet get you started on these new problems with parentheses. Again, the first 6 problems, just like you did last class period, you're solving for x, you're going to add or subtract, divide, and then square root on those. Do have a following object model question on question 25. Another word problem on 26 with the equation for you already, so that should help you out. And then 27, 28, 29 are some review questions. So, after you get done with this video, work on it in class up till the end of class period and have it ready to go by Friday, and I will hopefully see you then. Have a good day.